It's funny that we started out with like, what's the next trend going to be, and ended up with like, stop spending so much money.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it
Do you
is.
hear
Just
us,
don't
Hollywood?
spend $200 million making it.
But it's really funny, isn't it? Because I mean, how many times now on these massive, enormous blockbusters do the only things you ever see written about the spectacle and the bombast is, oh, CG in that part looked a bit ropey. No one ever says, the CG and all the rest of it was amazing.
Yeah.
Say it. So, who needs it all? Let's go back to intimate courtroom dramas, clogging up your multiplex. 13 Angry Men.
This week's podcast is proudly sponsored by Hisense, official partners of UEFA Euro 2024. Big games call for big offers, and that's why Hisense is giving you up to £400 cash back on selected TVs, including the new 4K mini LED TV. Make the smarter choice this summer and find out more at hisense.co.uk.
Hello and welcome to the AV Forums Movies and TV podcast for June 2024. Tonight, I'm joined by Tom Davies.
That's me.
And Mark Costello.
That's me too.
For our June Movies and TV podcast, we'll be doing our usual top 10 list of recommended watches for June, and then we're going to deep dive into our topic of the month. Now that the superhero movie bubble appears to have burst, what do we reckon the next trend in movies is going to be? But first, competitions. Current competitions, there's a couple of big ones from the hardware side. Win a pair of Q Acoustics M40 powered micro tower speakers and QED digital cables worth £1,069.
Nice.
You can also win a streaming system worth $2,400, trumped it there, which includes a Roxanne Atessa integrated streaming amplifier and Monitor Audio Silver 107G. I thought we were only up to 5, but anyway, bookshelf speakers. Closing date, 11:59 p.m. Wednesday, August the 28th. That's very precise.
Good comps.
Head over to avforums.com/competitions to enter. Competition is open to eligible AV Forums members over 18 who are resident in the UK. There's also plenty of Blu-ray and 4K. I think we hit our ridiculous peak of 4K. I think we got 8 or 9 4K competitions on our own.
Nice.
So we did pretty well. Previous winners, Woodface 7 won the Project T2 Superphono turntable worth $559, courtesy of Peter Tyson and Henley Audio.
I've got one of those. They are real good.
Excellent.
New patrons, Oyson Harper, Jim Cameron, Mr. Black 79, Oscar Madfish, Crazy Goose, and Borders of Coffee, Beer Bottles, George Van, and someone. Thank you all.
Cheers all. I'm drinking it right now.
Oh yeah, me too. Except mine is like branded can.
Yeah, mine's very coffee light.
Oh my god.
Hey, seriously. Sponsorship deals first, kids. Come on.
I know.
Look, we don't give anything away to our several viewers for nothing here.
Sponsored by Coke, McDonald's, and IKEA. Dunelm.
It's an IKEA one. I don't go to Dunelm, don't you know?
Sorry, it's an IKEA. Best titles we've watched in June 2024. A quick rundown. Boys' Return Season 4. It's more of the same. If you liked it, if you're still on board with it, it's more of the same. Ticks all the boxes.
That more of the same is actually quite a hearty recommendation for the boys, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
great, more of the same.
Yes, it's. I don't know. The comics burnt me out, and I thought that the series would do the same, but it's still strangely compelling. I do like it. Maybe it helps knowing that there's an end game. There's going to be a 5th and final season, and that's going to be it. I'm not saying that I dislike it at all. I enjoy it, but I probably need it to reach some conclusion rather than being more of the same for too much longer.
It's just good to know that there's a plan,
Yeah, it would be useful. House of Dragon returns for season 2. Return today, actually.
Today?
Yes.
Is it any good, Mark?
Well, it's funny you should mention that, Tom. I'll tell you tomorrow.
Okay.
Nice. He's stealing himself. He's trying to put the words together in the correct order for the review.
Yeah, I'm toying with the idea of putting these words in some form of order.
Yes.
Like,
Just give it a score.
Season,
Okay. Yeah. Just give it a score. I reckon 7. What do we reckon? 7?
I would very, very much go for a 7.
Yeah, I reckon 7. Yeah. Bad Boys, Ride or Die. The 4th Bad Boys movie, which is doing tremendously at the box office. I really enjoyed it. That's in there. Under Paris, which is one of like 4 shark movies this month. Tom persuaded me to watch it before he even finished watching it himself, and had a blast. It was good.
It's just
even
good
I watched
fun.
it. Even I watched it.
It's good. It was good. Good nonsense, but good.
I mean, how often do you get a shark movie that you can say like that was pretty good?
Never.
Like, almost
It's
never.
Absolutely
Almost
never. You're like watching it just because it's called a shark movie. It's like watching Seagal movies. It's just not. It's like a unicorn.
Although the thing is, though, it's going to set a worrying precedent now, because people are going to think you have to take your shark movies that seriously for it to be good.
What's next after superheroes? Shark movies.
Yeah, no.
Shark heroes.
I don't think when I came across
That's
a brief blip in Seagal's career and I enjoyed a movie of his, I don't think it ever made me think all the rest of his are going to be great. I think
although it did secretly cast. Don't give me that. Don't give me that.
Presumed Innocence. Yeah, I'm quite tired of TV remakes, but this one's a good one. Apple have done well, or Jake Gyllenhaal's done well, depending how you look at it, but worth a watch. The Dead Don't Hurt, Viggo Mortensen directed.
Mm-hmm. He
wrote the theme tune, made the coffee, you name it.
He did everything. He wrote the theme tune, sang the theme tune. It's a good movie.
Die making this movie?
Yeah.
Well, if he did, it didn't hurt him.
Yeah,
exactly. Wouldn't know anything, but it's great. Oh my goodness. It's only had like a real limited run at the cinema by the look of it. I found it in one little tiny arty place near me, and which is a shame because it's I think it's got broader appeal than it's being sold as. It's a really decent stab at a western from Viggo Mortensen. I'm a fanboy of his. I think he can do no wrong. He everything he turns his hand to, he seems to do a pretty good job of doing it, and The Dead Don't Hurt is no exception. It's really interesting and quite moving and quite sweet in parts as well. It's just it's a really worth catching if you can.
That's a stupid question, Tom. Is he in it?
He is. He is in it.
That was a genuine question.
He's not the star from Tom's review, but
yeah, I guess
but he's important. I guess
marketed as the star, but it's not really about, like, without going into spoilers, it's about his wife in the film, not his real wife. I don't know his real wife.
You talk about it not being in cinemas. I can't find Horizon in my local multiplex. It comes out at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Horizon.
Yeah.
I mean, if Horizon's not playing in the cinemas, which is supposed to be the next big Rebel Moon Western for Kevin Costner.
Are you really putting Rebel Moon in that sentence?
No, but come on, who plans to make 4 movies? Yeah. Who why don't they just make one good one? Just make one good one and then make others later.
Yes.
Anyway, Horizon Part 1 of 4 is coming out at the end of June, but no one can watch it. So I'm really not surprised.
No,
they could have made like a TV show out of a Western, but like who knows how that would go? At least it will go.
No, my local multiplex literally only starts letting you book tickets a week in advance, unless it's one of these big ticket releases now kind of thing. So I give it a week and I guarantee you'll be able to get tickets. I guarantee it, Harlow.
I hope so. I mean, you can put Logan and Deadpool versus Wolverine. You can book a bunch of things. But anyway, maybe it will. Maybe it'll come out. Hitman. Again, Netflix kind of wasn't expecting much, a bit like the Shark movie. Really, really very much enjoyed this. So that's if you want to give it a shot, it's a lot of fun. And I just got back from Inside Out 2, which was a blast. A very nice follow-up to the first film.
Did you
And
cry?
yeah, I did not. It came close at the beginning, but it's very, very well representing of a kid of that age. And considering I was sitting next to one, it was yeah, it was a biopic.
Yeah, but what did
Um,
she say? Oh, she's like, "It's a little rubbish, Dad." Honestly,
Well, when
don't know
I said
anything.
it was about her, she was like, well, "I'm not talking to you." Yeah, but
Uncanny.
yeah, but yeah, it was very good. It's very good. Mars Express. I don't think anyone can see this. You can import it on 4K from Germany, maybe, or you can watch it.
Which everyone's rushing out to do, Kaz.
You can watch it on digital in America. So, but you know, and before you ask, yes, it's in French with subtitles, but it's a cracking sci-fi. It's got notes of Blade Runner, Ghost in the Shell. It's got a lot of familiarity in its futuristic landscape, but it's quintessentially Euro, quintessentially French, I would say, and that gives it a wonderful flavor of unpredictability to it. Really love it, but it wasn't the best. And it's funny that the top three of this month are all animations. It wasn't the best of the month. The best of the month was Tom.
Oh, Scavengers Reign, which limped from HBO Max to Netflix. Was it the start of this month or was it the end of last month? And it just sort of like flopped onto Netflix like
Yeah.
a wet fish, and then there's
It did. It did. It hasn't
But-
cracked the top 10. And if you look at the top 10, there's a lot of reality shows in there. Has not cracked reality shows.
But it's
But-
amazing. It's just when you talk about Mars Express and talk about the sort of sensibility of French science fiction animation, like that is all over Scavengers Reign. It's it's 12 episodes of just the most brutal, weird, upsetting alien nature. A planet that just seems to be designed to kill you, and everything on the planet is like symbiotic with everything else, or like, I guess, parasitic, really is kind
Yeah.
of more. And it's just
It is
dark
immense.
and
Yeah.
intense and bizarrely moving. Like, there's an episode around the middle, right, Kaz, that like
Oh
just
God.
suddenly the most upsetting outcome
Yeah.
that you could imagine. But at the beginning of the show, you would have thought like, this is not going to get like, this is gross, but it gets you.
Yeah, I was ahead of Tom, and then I stopped to review something else, and he caught up and overtook me, and then he messaged me something fairly spoilery
I
in
love a spoiler.
relation to but yes, it was proper tragedy, and yeah, it's very, very, very well handled, and you don't expect it in this kind of show. I would also say it's one of the most imaginative sci-fis I've ever seen. Like flat out anything you could possibly conjure up in your most hallucinogenic dreams. I mean, it's here. Weird ass creatures and plants and everything. It's just, I mean, it's a brilliant, imaginative piece of work. And people should really watch it, but they're not going to. They're going to watch the first 10 minutes and go, it's a bit slow, and then go back to Bridgerton. They're just not going to do it, and it's such a shame because they're not going to renew this, so we're just going to have to watch it again, aren't we, Tom?
It's a shame because there's way fewer people exploding into fungus in Bridgerton, as far as I know. I might be wrong.
Yes. Anyway, that's our recommendation for the month. I reckon Mark will give it 15 minutes, maybe, or it's touch and go whether it's 12
Possibly.
or 15.
Possibly. I'll let you know next month.
Our discussion of the month is about the superhero bubble bursting 5 years since Endgame. And straight afterwards, people were going, can they recapture the magic? And a lot of people, including myself, are like, oh, don't worry, there's a plan here. It'll do it'll be fine. I know, Tom, right from the outset, you're like, no, but like I think I wanted to believe they could figure it out. For one reason or another, it hasn't really gone in that direction. And I have to say, I can't remember the last time be really excited about a superhero movie, like really excited. It's kind of gone down, and we get cast updates for Superman. I don't care, and clothing updates, costume updates for Superman. I don't care. Two directors have departed Blade. Ali's lawyer is chipping in and saying it's like the most unprofessional thing he's ever encountered.
That's going to go down well with Feige, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just, but I mean, it is a mess, isn't it? Like they make this announcement to do Blade like 2 years ago, and they haven't even got it on the schedule till 26, and they don't have a director, and they're still writing it.
Wesley Snipes even chipped in just to
Yeah, I
basically
saw
say,
that.
lol.
Yeah, I saw that's brilliant.
Yeah,
He's just angling to get the gig back on when Ali's fired.
Well,
That's all he's doing.
I mean, yeah, I'd have been happy with him back in it. But anyway,
Old Man Blade. Ooh,
I would have been
that.
okay with the Old Man Snipes. I would have been okay. But I'm trying to figure out what's next, because it's reboots are a big thing and have always been a big thing. But there've been a few blips. We had lots of anticipated movies which didn't do well last year, like Indy and even Mission Impossible. And this year, Dune 2's done really well. But really well this year is 800 million. That's not really well in 2018 terms. That's like half really well in 2018 terms. To the point where Gladiator 2 needs 1 billion to be classed as a success, which is ludicrous. But
wait a minute though. Did you hear the update though from CinemaCon?
Yeah, it's already got the 1 billion.
The footage they showed was Paul Mescal fighting
a rhino,
a shark. Oh my word! Take all my money. Seriously,
Paul Mescal fighting a shark.
I don't know how they got that bugger into the Coliseum, but apparently that was in the footage. So there you go. Just take it all now.
Yeah, that sounds quite good. Maybe it's a spiritual sequel to Under Paris. Yeah, something time travel-y thing.
History lesson there from Mr. Davies. Sorry, Kaz. Yeah, you were saying.
I think. I mean, I'm looking forward to all these things, but do we really think Gladiator 2 is going to crack 1 billion?
No, of course it won't.
Yeah, exactly. So, which brings me to the last point: is Bad Boys. Bad Boys is a success at 200 million.
Mm.
Why? Because it cost 100 million to make. Because they didn't go nuts and spend the 300-400 million of Indy and Mission Impossible, or whatever, the 400 million of Gladiator 2. I mean, maybe there's some sense that we can crawl out of this. I'm definitely not saying Bad Boys is better than any of these movies. It's just that they didn't go nuts on spending money on it. And maybe that means we have to look in a different direction.
Yeah, because I mean the smaller budgeted, like, not a sure thing, but we don't really care either way. If it like that's the stuff that's doing well for cinema. If we're lucky, they will learn an interesting lesson from that, which is that's what people want to go and see, like a smaller budgeted, like fun time. That's not what they're not gonna.
They're gonna basically make more Bad Boys movies. I think that's what they're gonna learn is, and they're gonna spend more on them.
Yeah,
that's what they.
Whatever's the surest thing, but because superheroes are not a sure thing anymore. In fact, quite the opposite after the last 12 months, I would say. They're sort of scrambling around now, aren't they, to try and find something that is. So obviously after the success of Barbie last year, we've got 1 billion toy movies coming up.
Well, you do, but I just don't think that's the answer.
No, absolutely not.
All.
It's not the answer.
I mean, G.I. Joe versus Transformers and what do they do? Matchbox, the movie?
And Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels,
and
the movie.
Matchbox.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. No,
I'm
even
not against this unless it's Hornby the movie. Quite frankly,
yeah,
ask your granddad's kids.
yeah. No, I don't think. I don't get the toy line at all. I don't see how that's really going to work for it.
I think the big thing that has come out of this is that notion of IP and brand recognition ain't what the experts thought it was. And that's actually quite amusing to see. I mean, how else do you explain the likes of all those failures, relative failures last year? Your Indies, your Mission Impossibles, pretty much all the superhero stuff. I think the once rock solid notion of brand recognition has taken a real beating, quite rightly so. And I'm glad, because that's all it was. It was the production line of, well, if that made $1 billion, then more of it must make $1 billion. So let's do more. And it was leading to bland, production line movies that were made by committee. There, you start with a screen date to get people. Again, I think what the last 12 months shows us is almost the entire end-to-end model of filmmaking, marketing, and distribution, frankly, now is broken.
Because you're right, but that's all, like, it seems really obvious to us.
I don't think they've
but just not
that.
Internally to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because
no, I don't think they've realized that at all.
Because they are still like greenlighting toy movies based off the success of one. They are still greenlighting video games movies based off the success of the Mario Brothers movie, like cracking $1 billion or whatever it was. And they're still doing remakes and reboots out your ass, like for the next God knows how many years, purely on this idea that like people know what it is. It doesn't matter if people liked it. It doesn't even matter if people think it is successful. It doesn't even matter if it made any money. People know what it is, so we'll do it, which is still going on, and it's so depressing.
No, you're right, but again, who are they asking? Yeah. This idea of people. I mean, I'm absolutely pissing myself that we're finally getting the Borderlands film. Remember Borderlands, kids? That video game from 11 years ago? No, I don't remember it either, but it's coming. And who's going to go and see that? Now, to be fair, they've done it well. They've packed it full of a fairly good cast. So you might get people going to go and see Cate Blanchett doing a Guardians of the Galaxy.
I mean, my kids want to see it because they think it looks like Jumanji.
Yeah. So
which I can see, but I do agree with you, because they're not the ones who know the IP of Borderlands.
Yeah. So it's almost
I do, and I have no interest.
Yeah. So it's that just insane mindset that goes, we're going to spend money on an IP, but the only people who recognize the IP are people who aren't interested in this kind of film. So we're going to make a film that appeals to someone who doesn't understand the IP. And you just think, is everyone just taking crazy pills around here? Because how does that work? They must be paying money for the IP. Someone must have paid that software company to use those characters and that brand, when literally they could have made the exact same film, changed the names, and not had to pay anything, and the same people would have gone to go and see it. But anyway, I'm ranting.
No,
like our job, then.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, because I do think post Dune 2, I can see a lot of sci-fis on the slate, and I think that bodes well. And I can see more original movies as well. If you look at Glenn Powell, who was in Hitman, if you look at his list of like upcoming projects, there are a lot of original movies there, which I would say I didn't expect to see. He's doing Twisters, sure, he's doing a reboot in there. But there's a fair amount of fare in there that's picking directors over IP. So he's working with John Lee Hancock, who did Little Things and Blindside. He's working with John Patton Ford, who did Emily the Criminal. He's working with Summit. He's working with Edgar Wright on a Running Man remake. I guess you got there on another remake. But I mean, he's picked some interesting choices there for his
That's good.
follow-up film.
He's like doing he's trying to do the movie star thing, isn't he? He's trying to do the
Yeah,
you're gonna trust the stuff that I'm in because I make winners.
kind of.
That I mean, exciting if he can make it
Yes.
work for him because so far I think he's great.
Yes, I'd agree with that, and
Yeah.
it shows it very much so in Hitman. He's got a lot of range to his. He has to play a bunch of different characters, and he actually does it. And it's most refreshing to see him a little bit more self-conscious and funny. Both of those terms work for someone who was obviously supposed to be like a cocky Maverick counterpart in Maverick.
But but I mean, is that the answer then? Do we think that what we're seeing is a move almost back to those days of the 80s when you had stars who broke films? You had people who went to the cinema to see the star. Didn't matter what the film was. Didn't matter if it was the next big, huge romantic comedy or some teeny tiny small art house crap. People were going to go and see Julia Roberts because it was Julia Roberts. Now, are we going to get a return to that? We've been told for decades that long dead movie stars don't open
I like
films
that
anymore.
idea. I like that idea.
So
Let's not get hopeful though, right?
no,
But when you say it, it immediately makes me think of watching Clooney in ER for years, and then one day he goes and he does like Out of Sight, Three Kings,
One Fine Day, it's a belter.
One Fine Day, and
It's a belter.
Peacemaker.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
Peacemaker.
He does like a selection of very different movies, and he does like Batman and Robin. Don't get me wrong. He does do some superhero crap in there, but like he really gives it a full spread of romance, crime, caper. You know, he does and that was his launch straight in. So he wasn't really a known star before there. Then, and I wonder whether maybe you're right, Mark. Maybe we'll.
I mean, I suppose the thing is though, it depends on the stars. So you mentioned your Glenn Powell. I mean, the obvious equivalent would be at this moment in time his co-star and Anyone But You. You know, your Sydney Sweeney. She rocked Immaculate and Anyone But You in the same month. Now,
And so reportedly, she took the god awful Madam Web movie purely to get some cultural rope in Hollywood to say, fine, I've done this big superhero movie. Now I want you to make my movie.
Yeah.
And man, good for her.
So you know, I think
that's her Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe what we're talking about is because you're right. I think the genre landscape, I think we're not going to escape from the fact that the tent poles are always going to be the spectacle. So it's going to be the blow 'em up actioner and the amazeballs sci-fi. That's always going to be there because we still, to some degree, think, well, that's what cinema's for. That's what you go to the cinema for. So there's always going to be those hovering in the background, I think. So in terms of trends, they're all going to carry on. But it will be absolutely fascinating if we started to see some real chances being taken in those. I mean, I would still love to see something like a Benson and Moorhead $100 million, just insane hour and a half up on multiplexes, given, you know, all the studio backing in the world. I'd love to see just something like that.
I mean, you might get it. I mean,
not after what they did on Moon Knight.
No, I mean, look, there are some interesting projects coming up, which who knows how they'll turn out. But like Villeneuve is doing really well off Dune, and he's going full tilt into sci-fi, isn't he? He's just, even before the next Dune, he's got what he's going to do before it and what he's going to do afterwards planned out, and it's all pure sci-fi. There's the guy who did John Carter, Andrew Stanton. He's done John Carter in a bunch of, I think, Disney movies.
Pixar movies, huh?
Pixar movies, yeah. But I mean, John Carter didn't do that well for him. But his next pitch is 2001 meets Magnolia. I'm interested.
Only Amy Mann sings in the middle of it.
Yeah, I mean, there are some interesting notes coming from directors I wouldn't have expected them to come from in original worlds.
True, but go back to Villeneuve. Do you know what? Dune, he's had his playtime, right? He's had his little fun. Well done. It was solid. Now give me another Arrival. I don't want Dune Prophecy. I want another Arrival. That's if he insists on sci-fi, that's what I want. I don't want another bloody Dune.
Yeah, but he's doing two others, isn't he? He's doing two other sci-fis with the next Dune smack in the middle, which is the best of both worlds for both of us, Mark. The fact that he's staying in sci-fi is what I'm excited about. As much as I love Sicario, I'm very excited that he's doing sci-fi because he takes a budget and he puts it into intelligent sci-fi for me.
Yeah, you say that, but again, what's interesting about him is he's almost gone the route which we've just bitched about because he went Blade Runner 2049. So legacy sequel there. Thank you very much for that. And now he's done a remake. So now granted, he's done well with them.
But he's done Arrival and Sicario.
Oh
and Enemy and Prisoners.
No. I know all, but we're talking about the sci-fi. So if you're talking sci-fi, he started off small. He did his nice little indie one, which everyone loved. And what did he do? He went, boom, right, give me some money. I'll do a legacy sequel and a massive remake. Oh my God, Denny, come on.
I thought he did Arrival after Blade Runner.
No, I think he did. I think he did Arrival first. I can't remember.
Exciting times.
I can't remember.
Simon has come from the future.
I have. And it's bleak. Let me tell you, it's bleak.
No, we only started we only started a couple of minutes ago, man. You haven't missed it.
Really? I hope that's not true.
And thank you and good night.
Works for me. That works for me.
Anyway, so we've just waffled on where Sai's obviously got the answer to what is the future trend of cinema.
Yeah, that would be interesting. We just talked about like the death of superhero movies and how IP properties, all the big remakes and whatever, aren't guaranteed anymore. I mean, even Mission Impossible isn't doing it anymore. We talked about the possibility that maybe the future would be led by actors. For example, Glenn Powell, will you watch all of his new films? Because he's not doing just remakes and reboots and IP movies. He's doing like original projects as well. And will he be like one of those actors that people follow rather than following the sequels? What do you think?
I'm hoping we'll head to a more early 70s niche kind of market where you've got auteur directors being able to spend a little bit of money on themselves to make a film that is watchable rather than these massive gargantuan franchises that are losing money hand over fist because they cost far too much to make. It needs to go smaller. It needs to go to more independent stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's the Bad Boys thing all over again. I mean that should be the lesson they take from that. Not making another Bad Boys film. Not that I'd mind it, but the fact that they should look to 100 million as being a really safe number and not look to 100 million turning into 500 million being justification for making a sequel for 250 million expecting $1 billion back. It just doesn't. Numbers. Yeah, because it doesn't. I don't think it works on multiples, and I think that's how if you look at the Marvel movies, I think that's how they plotted them out. We'll chuck more money at them because we get a multiple amount back, but I don't think it works that way.
I mean, interestingly enough, what Si mentioned there, we didn't talk about, which was the independent scene. You go back to the 80s and the 90s, there was an independent scene going on in cinemas. Now, granted, most of it stayed in the art house circuit, but occasionally you get the big breakout, wouldn't you? You'd get your Clerks, you'd get your Reservoir Dogs that would break out and all this kind of stuff. And I think that's gone to streaming. So cinema now doesn't have that small scale independent. Everyone bemoans the lack of the 30 to 40 million pound adult thrillers that used to get made that don't get made anymore. I would like to see a return to something like that. I'm not saying, I'm going to go see the next Kevin Smith film in cinemas, although I would. But I think
he's lost it, hasn't he?
He's too busy making podcasts, honestly. Who wastes their time making and listening to podcasts, honestly?
It's mental.
Anyway.
Waste of a life.
But do you know what? I think it would be really interesting if we got back to that kind of mix in cinemas where every Friday that one screen, you know what, instead of reissuing bloody E.T. or Jurassic Park for the 97th time, stick a little independent film on there, see who comes out, and start to get more of that mix in cinemas away from all of it being that bombast and spectacle. That'd be interesting.
I mean, I do agree with you that that's what I'd want to happen. I just don't think cinemas know how to quite do it. So the latest film, I'm not going to, from Lanthimos, is it that how you pronounce his name? Lanthimos? The guy
Lanthimos. Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yeah, from the latest film from him is coming out, no fanfare, in like a week's time. And it's going on in the multiplex that I said isn't showing, so far hasn't listed Horizon, but it's going on there for like 7-8 showings a day because they go, we're going to book this screen out, we're just going to show this film. I don't think it'll do very well. I think that the model you're describing would fare better if they went, we'll show it like every day at 6, 7, and 8 or something across 3 different screens. Something it would fare better if they tailored it a bit more, because what they do is they go, well, we're showing it 10 times a day or 8 times a day, and people only come to one of those screens, and there aren't really many of it, so it's a flop. We're going to take it off that screen because it doesn't get the breadth of personnel coming as it does to Inside Out. What I mean is you can't necessarily treat every film in a multiplex like Inside Out 2.
No, and I get that, and I think you're absolutely right that's exactly what they'll do.
Yeah,
because they'll look at the numbers and go, "The numbers don't lie. The numbers are right. Look,
that's how you do your job, Mark."
Exactly. Yeah. Although I would have given this a 7. I don't understand why this is a 6. Anyway, yeah, you're right, because cinemas have changed since the 80s and 90s. Those quaint ideas of projectionists. We have no truck with any of that human crap. Now we push a button and pray to God the masking holds or the speakers work, and if they don't matter because no one will complain anyway. But yeah, you are right that is the risk with that. But I absolutely support, that kind of programming.
I do too. I just think they need to figure out the middle ground as well. For example, on Inside Out 2, which I went to see today, I shifted. I couldn't quite make one of the showings, and I shifted it by half an hour to the next one. So I went to see. I mean, it's showing every half an hour at my local multiplex. That's an insane number of showings. That like if you put another smaller film to the test of showing it every half an hour, it's going to do really badly. So like you need to. I think they need to figure a middle ground on it for some of them.
You're right, but it's back to actual programming and not just I'm going to treat this small scale indie in the same way as the latest Pixar behemoth in the middle of half term.
It needs investment from all the studios to be doing roughly the same sort of thing. Don't know. All the studios need to be releasing these small amount of films, so there's a not a glut, but a selection at the cinema at the same time, rather than just the 1 or 2 big ones and a even fewer smaller ones.
I mean, Stuart just flashed up Return of the King's coming back to cinemas. Brilliant. It's a great film. I saw it several times at the cinema, and it's got a nice anniversary. I ain't dragging my arse out to the cinema to see that. Is anyone? I'd love to get some money behind some of these. Because again, does this come back to this idea of people think they have IP or brand awareness, but they don't?
Yeah. I don't really know what the game plan is for that.
Be interesting to see some of the money that's generated by these re-releases. Anyway,
I think that is we haven't come to any conclusions, but some of our ideas. I mean, some of the ideas, though, the idea that we could return to the 70s, 80s, 90s, a movement for more independent work, lower budget work, getting its limelight in the cinemas. The idea that
put Glenn Powell in everything. That's the answer.
The idea that we're even talking about him in this way suggests that it's possible for them to do it. I mean, I tried talking about Shyamalan in this way, but I don't know whether he needs a few more films to do it, because I really rate him, but it doesn't appear to have done a Glenn Powell. Whereas I'm very excited about pretty much all of Powell's upcoming projects, and he seems to have done it very easily off the back of 10 years in Hollywood not doing a great deal and then starring in Maverick. So
yeah, but you say that, but have you seen Everybody Wants Some? He was Hangman 10 years ago in that film. You know,
I haven't.
It's
very
good. You should see it.
Yes, but I mean, I've seen his filmography and I've seen him having done a lot of stuff, but it took that to get him. Suddenly we're going to call you up and star in Twisters. Yeah. Do you want to be Arnie in the new Running Man?
Yeah, but you know why? And because it was an old school, charismatic, shit-eating grin driven performance. And do you know what?
Yes.
That's what people love. Why we talked about Clooney. I mean, come on, let's be honest. He's not the best actor, but do you know what? He's suave, he's charming, he's charismatic, he's a little bit cool. Exactly, he knows how to wear some back nipples. And regardless of age, whatever, that's what people want to see. They want to see the pretty people being cool as all hell and flashing those massive grins, and we all kind of go a little bit gooey inside. It's funny that.
It's funny that you say that, though, because The Fall Guy has flopped, and that stars the person who a few years ago I would have said this is a movie star, or this is a guy who knows how to choose movies to give breadth and depth and create trust in an audience that his projects are good, and he still cannot bring an audience to make something as obviously super fun and cinematic as The Fall Guy to turn that into a success, which is I mean, I haven't got a point here other than that's mega depressing.
No. It's a very good point. I mean, I did hear some say the problem with The Fall Guy was back to anyone who went, "What's The Fall Guy about?" Oh, it's a reboot of an 80s TV show, and people went, "Oh my god,
it could be."
I
have to say, it would have done better as a love letter to stunts, an original movie, love letter to stunts. It could have been a little bit trimmer, and it could have been an original project for Gosling and Blunt, and they'd have carried it on charisma. I do think that the Fall Guy name does it no good in 2024. Yeah. It's a stupid attempt at retro IP, and it doesn't work. I also think it falls into that category of, why did you spend that much money on it? Why should it have to make like $750 million to be called a success?
Well, we can now look forward to the $6 trillion man, which is both its title and, I assume, budget.
Only if we get another Lee Majors cameo, then I'm all in.
If they made The Fall Guy for like 150 million, no, 100 million, no one would have any problem with it, and people would be talking about how it's a success and we'll make this into a franchise. I mean, they shoot themselves in the foot by just presuming that people are going to chuck $1 billion at every film that comes out.
But you know what? Maybe it all boils down to the simple matter of it's the money. That's why films are failing. It's not that the films are poor. It's not that people aren't watching them. I tell you what, I bet The Fall Guy does gangbusters the minute it drops on VOD.
It's certainly not that we need to retrain audiences, Joe Russo. What on
earth? That's a subliminal messaging in Citadel.
So maybe it literally is that. The fact is that films are failing at the box office because it's too many of the same things. Prices are escalating, which means more people need to come and see it, and they're not, because they're staying at home watching their bloody YouTube and watching what's on streaming. So the only answer is take the budgets down.
Mhm.
Carry on doing what you're doing, but take the budgets down so they've got more of a fighting chance of viability. Maybe it is literally that simple. I don't know. Who knows?
I'd go
Solved.
with that. No, I would go with that. No one would have any quibbles if they made all of these movies for like 100 million or less. No one would have any quibbles.
Well,
It's funny that we started out with like, what's the next trend going to be, and ended up with like, stop spending so much money.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it
Do you
is.
hear
Just
us,
don't
Hollywood?
spend
Yeah.
$200 million making it.
but it's really funny, isn't it? Because I mean, how many times now on these massive, enormo blockbusters do the only things you ever see written about the spectacle and the bombast is, oh, CG in that part looked a bit ropey. No one ever says, the CG and all the rest of it was amazing. I don't even
Yeah.
say it. So who needs it all? Let's go back to intimate courtroom dramas, clogging up your multiplex. 13 Angry Men, make it now.
Come on, Mark.
Very
Come on.
nice. Okay, well that's it. Quick shout out to my upcoming Netflix thrillers movies best of list.
All really cheap, so therefore brilliant.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, and if you watch them at home, you're contributing to the logic that they're more popular than Barbie. I believe is what Zack Snyder said. Basically, everything on Netflix is more popular than Barbie. Why did we see Barbie when we could just watch Netflix? Especially Weetabix, especially the Weetabix films. They're really, really good. Go Zack. Do let us know if there's anything we haven't covered in this merry month of June that you think we should shout it out to. That's it for the AV Forums podcast this week. My thanks to the movies team. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like and subscribe the channel, plus hit the notification bell so you don't miss out when we publish our live streams, product reviews, and more. If you really liked it, buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/avforums. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook and bookmark avforums.com for the latest reviews, news, and videos, and give us a 5-star rating on whichever service you use if you enjoyed the show. Thank you for watching and listening. Join us for another podcast imminently.
Bye.
Bye.